All right, we're going to turn the meeting over to the program chair. What is the name? Yeah. I put my glasses on. George. That's George. George Patton. No, Rader.
That's retired George Rader.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. It's all yours, George.
Thank you, King Lion Rush, for that scintillating introduction. Fellow Lions and guests, it's a pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Peggy Hofemann. She shares a lot in common with Lions, having been one, and also having a passion and a volunteer spirit that she wants to talk to us about. Peggy retired in 1995 after 30 years from U.S. West. Back in those days, they were hiring from grammar school. Around 2003, she became the charter president of the Oaks Bottom Lions Club in Selwood, Oregon, which you're familiar with. In 2004, she became a grandmother to Olivia. 9 years later, or very soon actually, she started writing stories for Olivia and with Olivia in them. Then she started a book club for her granddaughter and her friends, started reading to them, and she realized the importance of reading to children and the differences of skill levels from children that had reading backgrounds. So she decided that she would do more than just have a book club. She would pursue a program which she'll tell you about. She's very passionate about it. We'll have to tap her on the shoulder when we run out of time because she loves to tell you what she's so passionate about. So at this time, please help me give a warm welcome to Peggy Hofemann.
And I am going to trust you to pull on my shirt or something when my time's up.
The king will do it.
That's
Okay.
why I'm here.
Okay.
Pull on your shirt.
Pull on my shirt and I'll know.
He's got two jobs. Start the meeting and,
Well, you know,
Oh, you mean it?
the mic, yeah, there you go.
yeah, we didn't set this up beforehand, so I'm very lucky that you could make it fit me. I feel like I am among friends. I don't know you, but I do know your hearts. And I know what Lions stands for and all that you guys do. And I'm asking you to put one more thing on your plate. But I know I can remember being a working mother, and you always, if you want something done, you ask a working mom to do it. If they're a stay-at-home mom, nothing against stay-at-home moms, but they aren't the most organized people in the world. Well, you know, that's what I have found out. And as a disclaimer here, anything I say today has not been okayed through CAP. So,
Or the Lions.
or the Lions. So, so I am responsible for all of the content. And what I've done is that, like George says, I always wondered what I was going to do when I retired. And I know that my mother spent her retirement years making Christmas decorations and ornaments. That was her passion. And I really, really didn't know what I was going to do because when I was younger, I didn't recreate well. I always thought that like I had to have. And then grandchildren make a world of difference, don't they?
Yes, they do.
My brother told me one time that when you have your first grandchild, everything changes, your perspective and everything. And I point blank asked him, yeah, and what are you smoking? And it's true. Your whole world and the focus of your whole world changes. But what I've done is I've made a list of questions that I will ask and answer myself. And if you have any questions or anything as we're going through this, please raise your hand. And we, hopefully, if I don't get carried away, that we'll have time to talk, to ask questions at the end. And what am I doing is I am working with the RSVP program out of CAP. I am a volunteer recruiter. And so I don't have any, and at my age, and I'm sure a lot of you do, I feel the same way, If it ain't fun, I don't do it. When it's no longer fun, I'm going to do something else. So I am just having the time of my life. And so I am working with them, and like George said, all started, had it not been for my granddaughter and them living up here. I have one daughter, one granddaughter. I would have never been in Longview. But because of my granddaughter, I moved up here, and then my whole focus changed. And the reason I'm doing this is because our children need help. I am not saying anything bad about the teachers. I am not blaming them. I am blaming nobody. It's just the whole, it's just a system. The teachers are doing what they can. And that is, and they just don't have enough resources and things. And I feel, this last year was the first year that I really got into volunteering in the schools. And she asked us to come in. We started with St. Helens School, and with Mrs. Crisp, who is a third grade teacher. And she was the one that stepped up and says, I'd like volunteers. And she wanted us to read 2 days a week. The children read to us. We don't read to the kids. They're in the third grade. We don't read to them. But she wanted us to read 8:30 to 9:05. And I immediately got my hackles up, and I said, what the hell can we do in 30 minutes twice a week? I found out that just in the 30 minutes twice a week, our children made progress. Then I'd wanted to do a book club. And so after we'd been there a couple of months, and periodically I'll tell her, anytime that I step over the line and you can stop me. I'm not going to be mad. And I asked her, I says, what about doing a book club? And she says, I've been praying about this. She says, last year I had time to do book club with the entire class. I don't have that this year. So we started a book club. We had 7 third graders in it. And she picked the ones that she wanted, and we had two adults. And I worked with 3 young boys that one of them he didn't want to be in school. He had no desire to be in school. He'd have been just happy. Now this is a third grader. He would have, if he could have just gone home and played video games or whatever, he'd have been happy. So we were reading so we started doing book club over the lunchtime, and the teacher gave up her lunch for us to do this. We did not read on Tuesday because that's the day that I do over at Paisley Duck. We do have a little group that does quilts, and we make quilts for Head Start classes. So Tuesday's not there. I gave up my sewing today for you guys. I thought that this was more important. So at the end of the year, we looked at, and by the time I do this presentation to somebody else, I hope to have the statistics, the firm ones in my hand. But this young man that I'm talking about, he started reading 30 words a minute. That was what his test was before we started working with him. When we were done, he had more than doubled his reading and comprehension. And I took, with the 3 young men that I was working with, I think the other lady, she preferred working with the girls. I think that's how it, but I would do index cards for them. And I did index cards on the condition that they would take these home and they would learn them. And then we would go through them. And then and if they did this at the end of the year, I would do something special. Every time we finished a book, we'd have a celebration. But with these boys, I wanted to give them an added incentive so they would take these home and they would read them and learn them, and then we'd go over them. And we even did book club over the summer. We only did it once a week, but that was kept them in. And the mom of the young man that I was talking about that was the worst of the 3 readers said that he was going over his index cards and he was reading, and they're now reading every day in their family. And also, when we got to we'd meet in the summertime at the library, and when we were there, we'd read 2 chapters and then we'd talk about them, so I was sure that they understood it and comprehended what it was. And then he'd say, "Isn't it time to do the index cards now?" That was such a different, and then we didn't, I had a little bit of surgery at the end of July, so we didn't do it in August. And he was always asking his mom, "When are we going to go to the library and read? When are we?" So it does make a difference, guys. It really, truly makes a difference. And what I'm asking from you is I am asking you to commit some time. Now, I had about 12 ladies reading in that class. Not all of them. They committed to the 8:30 to 9:05, 2 days a week. And I only had one other lady that committed to lunch hours. And that's okay. So I'm not going to ask you to donate 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. These things and what the teachers want from us is flexible. They may only want a half an hour from us. They may want more than that. And the time and the type of commitment is last year I worked in 3 schools. We have got what they call a memorandum of understanding that we have the school sign, that CAP has them sign. And I worked at St. Helens, I worked at Robert Gray, and I worked at Kessler. And I am hoping, well, the reason I did that was because the first school that came on, the beginning of the year was St. Helens. The rest were a little, and I can't explain why the schools don't want us. If you want to volunteer to come over to my house and do anything, I am not going to have to think about it. But I do know that one of their concerns is that, well, what if the volunteer and the teacher are not on the same page? That is an advantage of having us. It's kind of like going through a temp agency. You get an employee from the temp agency and it doesn't work out, you call the temp agency. They're responsible for resolving the problem. And so I am asking for a commitment for the year, but I also realize that life happens. And if you think that you can do it by starting out, but you think, in January you guys are going to be heading to Arizona, I'll take you. And how can you help? What we're doing right now is we are recruiting for reading. And the schools that we are participating with at this time is St. Helens, CVG, Mint Valley, Robert Gray, and Kessler. Just Kessler asked us they had 35 children that needed help. Sometimes they want you to, sometimes they'll have you do it, you'll have one person, sometimes you'll have 2 or 3. And that's what we did at St. Helens, is that our readers went in there and we were paired with either 2 or 3 children. And every time I worked with the same, and the children that I worked with were not in the book club. But I worked with the same ones, and after you've been there twice, you are theirs. They look forward to seeing you. I got Christmas letters from my people. They made bookmarks, and I got those. It is let me finish explaining why I worked with 3 different schools. I worked with St. Helens. That was my kind of like my anchor school, so to speak. And then I worked with Robert Gray, and I worked with Kessler. And we didn't get what they wanted until later in the year. And I didn't want them to think that just because they asked for us and I didn't have anybody to send them. I mean, it's really hard to get volunteers in May. I mean, people, so I would go out there every day and I worked with the kindergarten class out there. And it was awesome. I worked for an hour every day. And then then the other class that I worked with was Kessler, and there was a little boy in kindergarten. He did not know his alphabet. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He was promoted to the next grade. These children need our help. Now the next question I've got here is, why are we only partnered with 5 schools at this time? Well, I feel if you've got a school that you'd like to work with, I will go out and make them our partner. But I don't want to go out and get all the schools on board and then I can't fill the positions. That doesn't make sense. But I also know that I need to be able to tell you, hey, right now, today, these are where the opportunities are. I haven't gotten the final word from the teachers as to what times they're going to be wanting them, but I'm going to say from my teacher, from Mrs. Crisp at Mint Valley, I was there the other day, and she says, I think I'm going to be ready for you by the 16th. She says, I just have to know when they're going to do the reading test. And so that's what we're doing right now. When will we partner with more schools? Will we partner with more schools and when? I can't even blame that I'm somebody else. And the answer is yes. We will.
Pulling on your shirt.
Okay, how much time do I have?
A couple minutes.
Okay. I'm not done.
You can hurt him. It's okay.
I can back off too.
No, I'll finish this up.
All right.
Okay.
But I'm right here.
Okay. And I can see you. Then the other thing that I want is, you do not need any special qualifications, and just because this is an RSVP program, if you're not a senior citizen, I made them add a plus to it. When you're a volunteer and you're a pushy one like I am, you can do things like that. If you are capable, if you want to help and you can read, I will never, ever, ever turn a volunteer down. Then the one other thing is that, do the schools need help with anything other than reading? And I noticed that when we had, I've been kind of getting some data, when of the children, of the young people that go back and want to go to community college, probably about 40% of them have to go back to remedial something. And the 2 classes that they have to go back to remedial is reading and math. I am now trying to get so that I can learn the new math. I got awards when I was in high school and college for my math. I couldn't do it on a bet now. So I'm trying to get that, and then when I get that, then I'll teach whoever wants to volunteer to help with that program as well. So I do have applications for anyone that is interested. It is just really rewarding. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Hold on. Are you willing to hang around after the meeting and answer questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, she'll be here after the meeting, and we also have a mug and an application for the Pioneer Lions. You can put your hot chocolate in there if you'd like.
Thank you.
Or whatever else
Does
you
beer-
would like. I think it fits. Thank you very much.
Works for me. Thank you.